So I was out wheeling a couple weeks ago and took a nice hit to my core support here, which that's a huge problem. If it punches a hole in the condenser, it's not a huge deal, but if it punches a hole in the radiator, that's a huge problem. So this stuff is just down here. It's all exposed. It's not protected by anything but that. So I got this core support brace sent to me from Andy down there at Ironman, and there's not a lot of stuff for the ZJ. There's a ton of stuff for the TJs and the XJs and other types of Js, but there's not a lot of people that make this type of stuff or these steering box braces for these. It's all day for the XJs. This one has provisions for an anti-rock sway bar, which basically is a bushing that goes here, the sway bar goes through, and then you have arms that come out that would connect to your locations wherever that would be. So I wanted to be able to put that in the future in case I wanted to, make this thing a little bit more rigid, without bending and twisting so much. So this thing is probably the easiest modification you can do on these vehicles. The factory one is only held in by 2 bolts on each side. And then the only other thing there is the little locator pins that hold the radiator in place. So you can do this on the ground with a jack. I just happen to have it up on my lift here, but basically all you do is you just take out the 2 bolts on each side to hold this out, drop this thing on the ground, and then you can pop this thing up here. The only modification you'll need to do is 2 little cuts in the bumper guard here on each side to get this to go up in there. So in the factory configuration, this box brace actually has these ears on it that would come up here and bolt into these locations. But I actually have a bumper bracket set up here for my bumper, my winch bumper that I made. The package you get comes with the sandwich plates, the bolts, all the hardware. You get a sweet bottle opener and a sticker. Basically what you do is you just put the thing up there. I just marked it with a Sharpie and hit it with a grinder, popped those things out, stuck this thing back up in there, and put the bolts in. So in the factory configuration, what you do is you take the sandwich plates out of the package and you put them inside this hole here. There's a hole here for the factory, and then you just put the bolts in, and this gets sandwiched into the unibody. Since mine has a little bit of a different provision here for the bumper brackets, I'm actually going to recenter this and weld this across here to tie that all together. So you could even use this in correlation with the bumper bracket, the outer part by itself, and just sandwich them both together without using these. That's just kind of how my setup worked, because I had the bumper put on before I even thought that this was going to be an issue. The only other thing I did here was I just kind of cut down the locator pin so there wasn't anything to grab onto. Now it does come unpainted. I'm going to drop this thing back down and paint it before I put it in its forever home. But not only is it smooth on the bottom, it protects the entire radiator core instead of, just this is it. That's all you got. There's not really much to it. So it protects the entire condenser, the entire radiator, and it has this little radius here. So if you come up on an obstacle, it's going to push up and over into it instead of grabbing onto it and holding it. So with the steering box brace and the core support, it really makes the front of this vehicle much more rigid. It's almost like a car with an actual frame, but better, because now I have all of this 1/4-inch metal here and all of this 1/4-inch metal here, and this is rigid stuff here. This is not going anywhere. Yeah, that's pretty much it. This is the easiest modification I've done to this vehicle. I mean, it's even easier than putting springs in. You don't really need any special tools other than something to cut with. You could probably even do this with a hacksaw if you really wanted to, but that's pretty much it. Now that you have protection, you got something to push over obstacles, and it's going to protect the entire cooling system here with the radiator and the condenser. These guys are going to get welded in when I do the steering stuff, so that'll be in a future video. But today I just wanted to show this and how simple and easy this is. I mean, you could do this in 5 minutes if you really wanted to.